Hey Panic, welcome back. I was live earlier today and we kind of changed things up. Now we're back live again. Turn the music up a little bit. How's it going? Today we're just doing more asset development. It's kind of annoying, you know. Just reorganizing everything. Yeah, let's actually get this material working. Ship materials. Yeah, it looks like the same. So on this, the override material. So leather 31K. Leather 30. Yeah, leather 30. So we haven't set that up in Blender yet, I don't think. Right, we have black sofa leather, that's about it. So let's add this here to the ship materials. And we might move them. Okay, so we have our leather 130 here. I should remember like which one we last had open. Normal GL. And I think we have displacement, but I don't know. We could attach the displacement, but we'll see. Yeah, I guess we will. Yeah, let's just leave it as normal for the time being. Leather. What was this called? Leather 031K. And we'll mark that as an asset. And now with that done, just make sure we have our back base. Okay. We'll go back in here, and this time we'll grab our leather. Which is how it is in the game, but actually getting it set up in Blender. We're probably gonna do the animations in Blender too. That's our kind of temporary goal right now. Is to try to redo a lot of the stuff that we used to be done in Unity back in Blender, so we can make changes artistically in Blender and kind of like skip seats now good. Then we'll just see what that looks like. Weird, why am I not seeing the preview? Color. I'm seeing some of it, but oh wait. It's not linked. These are now all linked. I think it needs like a slight sheen value. Alright, should put rails fine. There should be a cockpit as well. Oh no, that's the new dash. Wait, what? Hey, Settlix. Hey, Irad. Hey, Hexic Dev. Yo, get rated back. Yeah, I had an all day off today, so I was streaming earlier today, and now I'm now we're back at it again. So we got our space, our good old chill. So you guys might want to see. Oh, Sedlix, you want to see that thing I was showing you? Let me show you what I built. Let me showcase. So here, we'll bring up our. You'll need to kind of understand. So I'll give you the gist. Let's go into Insomnia here. All right. So. They were doing boring stuff, but it's all for the right cause. So this is the API, right? So we have our universe server, and we can access builds. So the idea, we log in, boop, you know, my password is password, I'm aware. We're testing, right? So I want to get a list of builds. So I hit the builds endpoint with our bearer token, and we get a list of builds, right? The builds are keyed by a GUID. A GUID is just literally a date the build was created. Which is represented here, and then these are the files that are in this build that need to be patched. Now that we have our list of builds, and there's only one in this case, we can actually hit that build directly, and this will give us, you know, the details, right? These are the actual files, and these are the hashes. This is the SHA-1 of each of the files that need to come down for the build. And if we take said token and we hit the actual build endpoint for the file itself, then if the token exists, then, you know, it'll just pull the actual file over this API. So what does that mean? Well, let me show you. So this is what we're doing. We'll go into what we're doing here in a second. So here on my computer, right, I have a C drive apps Unforgiven space launcher. Now I'll show you how this works. This is actually you know, an actual launcher that I made. So I have an installer, so Unforgiven space launcher, and I would go ahead, install the game. So, you know, Unforgiven space launcher, so it's installing. Boom, would you like to run the launcher? Sure. So we've just installed the launcher, and we can see it here under my start menu, but I don't have it. You'll see there it is. I actually have my own launcher right here. So I'm going to go and launch the launcher project just so you guys can see what's happening. So if we go into Is the launcher Windows only? Right now it is, yeah. But check it out. Let's go into Unforgiven space, game, and we're going to delete the 2 main files. For now it is, but I'm probably going to make a Linux version as well. So check this out. This is how this works. I'll hit play. Because remember, like, the game is funded by Patreon, and we want people to be able to test the game really quickly. So all I had to do, log in. Now I'm logged in as reviewer, right? We have our settings, so this is where the game goes. And now all I have to do, I'm gonna bring my browser down. So yeah, just give me a second, so we can kind of see here. I think I don't like about this browser. Very hard to grab. Okay, so check this out. Log into Patreon. Unforgiven Space client would like to access your information. Allow. Logged into Patreon. Got our Patreon code. Verified that both of the hashes are not valid. And now it's queued up the files that it needs to actually download. And if we come back here, we can actually see it's after downloading the Unforgiven systems, and now it's pulling down the PCK file. Right? Super, super low effort for the user. You just click the Patreon button, you know what I mean? And then you get the latest version of the game. There's going to be branches of the builds, right? The main, like, cool graphical build. The idea is that I want to create this build manifest JSON. And this build manifest JSON, like, in the builds, for each of the builds, it'll pull this build.json. But will it overwrite the diff that Steam will provide you with if you post game there? If I'm publishing the game on Steam completely, I'm probably just going to distribute it through Steam. Because if you already have, like, if you've been given a key, you know, for Steam, then you probably already... It might be more of the same concept. But just as a standalone, you know, do you have a CI/CD pipeline for pushing new builds too? That's next. My goal for this weekend was to get things patching. The next part is to add CI that automatically does the diffs between the 2 builds. Right? So because we want to be able to create binary patches, right? The difference between GUID for each file is going to be very small. So there's just, you know, not the fastest API that I've whipped up, but, you know. So it's all good. I should now be able to run this build. Right? Boom. Right? And I'm into my FPS testing. Right? So, boom. Like, you know, like, it works. Right? It works fine. I think it perfectly ties everything together and simplifies the whole process. Where do I go get them? Yeah, that's the issue, right? But there's also, like, other things that I want to do with that as well. Like, I don't know, like, you know, let's say we want to, you know, just have news, right? Like, where do we put our updates? Where do we put our news? Where do we put, like, you know, thanks and all those things, right? They can all go here in the launcher. Yeah, so the next part of this is doing some of the server side stuff for, because the cool thing is I can actually upload a build and you know, I can actually, like, run Godot and tell Godot to, you know, export its PCK file and kind of, right, like, I can do a lot of this, like, computing the hash and setting up the deltas between them, and, you know, like, all of this can be pretty straightforward. You know, like, it could even, like, extract a PCK, patch it, and then kind of inject it back in. But, you know, so, you know, there's always going to be a good use for a launcher. So yeah, that's the Unforgiven Space launcher. Because I haven't seen a launcher in Godot or a Delta patcher or anything. Like, there's a lot of things that are I don't know, not missing, you know what I mean? You just gotta build it because, you know, it doesn't exist type deal. So this brings us back to the terrible stuff of what I'm working on now today, which isn't the most exciting, really, but load of work. So using, you know, seat with rail as an example. So this is the fallacy of Unity, right? That back in the day, I made the seat, right? Which you can remove the material here, but anyway, I made the seat, I unwrapped it, and I didn't have the materials applied, right? I found the materials later on in life. So this material is leather 30K as an example. So in the game, right, I've added, you know, the materials as an override material, right? So here's leather, you know, yeah. So here's leather 30 right here, this material in the file system. So, you know, we can use leather 30 for pretty much anything. I have a bunch of these. There's like leather 30 to 26. There's a few of these texture sets that I've already downloaded. But, you know, in Blender, you know, it didn't have these textures applied. And it's the same thing with the animations, right? The animations were made in Unity and not in Blender. And that makes it very annoying for someone to artistically work on the assets in Blender. Like, you know, like it's fine for me or fine for anyone who has a build. They can go ahead and just, you know, like with custom animations and custom, you know, it gets really hard to prototype when you're when you're using the engine to do it all. So I want to rebuild a lot of the ship stuff. I forgot a lot of stuff was done on the Unity side, right? And remember, when I moved to Godot, I used Unidot to import the entire Godot project into Blender. So, like, I can go to space and I can see the ship in full detail, but a lot of this came in from Unity, right? And it came in with, you know, all of the materials, you know, pretty much already set up. Like this all kind of came in, and you know, like, things are all pretty good, you know, for the most part. But like here, let me just show you like what I mean. But like, so in cockpit, this is the ship cockpit, right? There isn't a lot to this. There is an asset. There's kind of like this little piece here and a few other things that come in from the blend file. But really, the cockpit is assembled, right? Like I, in Godot, assembled all of these pieces, right? Like put it together. You know, it's the same. Like all this is lined up so that we can put the scanner node in. You know, scanner goes in here. But like, you know, I want to build a prototype in Blender and actually, you know, make some of these adjustments. Alright, so it's one of those things where there is like a very basic mesh, which is the inside or the front, but the rest is kind of all over the place. Yeah. So yeah, that's been kind of what I want to kind of do now, and just kind of organize and kind of refactor. Organize, refactor, yeah. Because they have, I will show you, we'll close this out. I want to show you some of the stuff I've done in Unforgiven Systems, which is like the main project. Unforgiven Systems right now is, it's in a weird place because I'm redoing the way the raycasts work for selecting things so that they're kind of a part of the camera, but it requires a whole bunch of refactoring because the camera is only like a single player thing. Like I have to find a way to tie the player to the camera based upon their own authority. So let's do project debug. Okay, cool. So So this is displaying on my other screen. So let me change my screens over real quick. Doesn't seem to be fitting to the screen. Transform reset. I think it's like okay. All right, so it's gonna be hard to see, but let's connect with settings. Settings will be orange. All right, so there's me and Settlex again, but this is what's new. So we have this new prison system. So if we head over here, there's actually now a little crafting system to get out of prison. And we're going to experience it together. Alright. So we're going to wait for one of the components to come across. There's a couple of components. Some of them are way too big. So there you go. There's a... so I'm actually repairing this. I'm actually crafting it. And I've now completed it. And I just got points for completing it. But we can both do it. So check this out. Like I can both... we can both influence the build process. So notice how the build's now like twice as fast? Because there's actual 2 prisoners working on it. Now there's a bunch of other components. Some of them are massive. Like there's a big power plant here that we're both working on, which is a little bit not quite doesn't really fit the what I'm doing here, but And if we bring our server character over, who's watching all of this happen, you can see all of this is in sync. Right. So the idea, now that we have the prison system working, see, so that it's actually, there we go. So we have this kind of a repair system. So what happens now, let's close this out. And go back to, let's run back to the other stream real quick here. So let's go to testing. Let's do security testing. And then we just throw the chat up here and take chat arena, put it over here. Okay, so now there's different ways of dying. So this is the new system. This is the new version where we can actually cut into meshes and stuff like that. But we're going to do a bounty mission. So let's find. So let's die naturally. It's a part of that shader. So I'm going to let him kill me, but I don't have a crime stat. He's just going to kill me. So the first stage of death, because we now have a crime system, is you spawn your back to tank. So this is your classical, I died, so find the nearest medical station, and then find the nearest medical module in that station, and then put you in the nearest, back to tank. But this is where it gets interesting. Over here I have a kill zone. I think it's here. Oh, maybe it's over here. So if I enter this kill zone, I'll be killed, but now I have a crime stat. So because I have a crime stat, I'm now in prison with the prison system, and now it's actually, working. And so this is the gray box version of the prison system from before, and we now have the working, elevators where we can actually repair them. I don't know why this one's actually not repairing. I mean, it is repairing, but I don't know why it's visually not showing up. Yeah, I think there's some, like, it's systemically showing that I've repaired it, but it's not giving me the feedback that it's been repaired for me. Oh, that one works. Oh, it must be it must be just this, yeah, what does the power plant work? Let me try another one. I have a feeling these are copies. I copied them, so whichever one of these has the first mesh, it's probably the one that works. But anyway, that's the idea. You'll get assigned to one of these and kind of, you play the repair game, which is working. It shows that I've repaired it and I've fully completed it, but for some reason it's not. Oh yeah, it's not finding the shield generator for some reason. So something got messed up with that specific mesh. But anyway, so that's what I've been working on with the prison gray box here. So we just have a very simple gray box version of the the final prison system. We have some gray box prison stations, and once the player makes enough merits, then they can leave. What's not done, on the system side of things, is when you're assigned a room and you go to the terminal, you can see what your merits are, and how much time is left on your sentence, right? So whatever your sentence would be, like you have 20 minutes or 30 minutes, and as you gain merits, the time goes down, so you can earn it off much faster. And so that's the prison stuff. Yeah, and this is all part of that new system. Yeah, you're just boosting yourself out faster, right? Because there's not much else to do in prison. So it's very cool, dude. I feel like it's great opportunities for folks who just want to just RP in jails. Yeah, you totally can. Yep. So I'm pretty excited. Kind of get the stuff out. But I want to get the patcher out. There's lots of stuff that I'm working on anyway. But I'm trying to go back and clean up the studio as far as how Blender is concerned. I want to rebuild the ships in Blender, you know what I mean? Like in a design version of the ship. Obviously, it doesn't make sense to bring it. I'm going to export everything into Godot from that project because I'll have duplicates of everything. But I just want to have a design version that has everything laid out where I can kind of move it around and kind of just play around with it. And that, right, so there'll be a design version and then the regular version where all of those assets are just empty nodes that represents where they would be. Right, so I can just export that and then connect all the those node references for the empties. So empties would just represent like where they would actually be. Using the empty stuff, yeah, as sockets, exactly, and that goes for Unity as well, right? It's all the same commonality, but I'm just being burned right now by, by things being kind of all over the place, and I just need to see it in Blender. I think that's where we need to go. That's where we need to be. So what I've been working on, Zenlix, is the asset library, right? It's been all over the place, and it needs to be organized. All of the stations, everything needs to be put into the correct asset library. I've moved the asset library to the server so that it's so that things will be a bit more organized, and it's just now a matter of just kind of getting it all going. Let me show you the other. I think I showed you this. It's in systems. There we go. So this is the new test scene that has a little bit of everything in it, and this is the new the new hangar system, or the new complete hangar system. Let's see if I can open it, kind of show it off a bit. So this is just gray box, but I don't know if I explained this to you guys before, but this new system is designed so I can link it directly into the station easily, and there can be different versions. So whether I had 4 of these side by side in a bigger hangar, or I have one of these in its original hangar form connected to the back of the station, this is now a uniform way of doing things. There's always going to be a cargo lift here in the back, which can be called. We're always going to have our intake and outtake, right, conveyor belts, so you can just throw stuff on the belts to be brought into the station, or to be pulled out from the station. Like, you can just queue up a bunch of cargo, and these belts will just keep, filling up, so that way you can just start throwing it on the ship. Makes the gameplay so much more enjoyable. And then the other aspect of that is all of this, the way that we bring the ship up, or that we store the ship, right, is now much easier. So this is the kind of stuff I want to be able to not have to make I want to not spawn ships in, you know what I mean? I want to spawn the ships down below, right? So the ship spawns in down below and comes up. The ship lands, the whole thing plays backwards, gets covered, the ship despawns, right? So there's no, in the world, there's no illusion of a ship just magically appearing. You know what I mean? It has a process to it. I think that's important. And then this is a lot more. The stairs have been redone, central area. And, the cool thing is, the console for spawning in the ship will be up here, where you would come into the station. And then you'd be able to see that kind of happen, here when you're kind of looking at, obviously not that fast, not 2.5 seconds, but, So I think that'll be cooler, a lot easier to kind of deal with. And it's got a lot of different variations of things we can do with that. Okay, so this was the old gray box hangar. And we should have the... if I have it here. Maybe I don't have them yet in Godot, but I do have them in Blender. Yeah, so it's going to take a while to get all that together, but that's what I want to get done now. I want to get the whole station kind of redone. Because there was a lot of things that we kind of talked about that the stuff that was kind of didn't really make sense, and we really needed to redo it. So like here as an example, here's like the super large hangar where we can actually have, side by side. Obviously don't be saying the hangars here, but you can have these big hangars that kind of come down, right? So you could have a big hangar that actually has 8, landing pads, 4 on each side, and it's fully shielded from the atmosphere, from the outside. So there's gravity, and you don't really need to have a spacesuit on, and it kind of works. Oh yeah, so check it out. So this is V2. So this is the same hangar that we used to have way back in, like the same type of hangar, but of course we need to add a lot more space to the bottom of it now because of the way that these hangars work. But you know what? This works. You know what I mean? And this allows us to use the original style small hangars with the, like just with a new system. And right, and we still get the same entry points on the back. The only difference is the sides don't go anywhere, which is fine. They don't need to. And right, they can be kind of capped off. You know what I mean? We're just vending machines. So it's just you go in, spawn your own ship. Load in your own cargo. And and you're golden. Yeah, it's about reusing stuff, right? Like if I want to make an asteroid base, we just put the same pieces. And check this out, right? If I do want to use the other one, I have another variation, where these can actually now kind of stack, you know what I mean, like side by side, and become like, like this could be a full arm of one of the stations, right? So you can have this whole, connected areas kind of link in between them, right? It works. Or this can kind of come off on its own. You know what I mean? And become like another type of module, like a connector. Just as a, example. Right, and then this whole thing can be kind of, duplicated. There could be anything extending them. But anyway, you can kind of, it'll be cool when it's So that's kind of what I'm thinking about. Because this will make connecting to the it just makes the room simple. 1.1.1. So I just want to see it all come back together again, you know what I mean, in a more final art form, but I need to like create all the details in the hangar, and you know what I mean, like just, it kind of sucks that it's going to be a bit before it all comes together, but it'll be so much easier to scale this, and there's only one hangar type, you know, and there's no pads anymore, you know what I mean, there'll be no landing pads. Landing pads are just these at the surface level. You know what I mean? Where they'll be kind of an airlock all in one. They'll just come down and, you know, pull you down. Yeah. Yeah, right now they're just boxes. Everything's a box. It's box simulator. And the other thing too, satellites, because like I said, I'm trying to redo the whole station. Like the station, I just didn't really like. It's not that I don't like it. It's very hard to work with. So there's a new new commerce module we're working on. If I can find it. Look at this, right? Like, I know this is a kind of a bad, you know, it's simple, you know what I mean? And it's not as cool as it was before. It's a very basic kind of a mall, but the idea here, this gotta be shorter for that, is to make a multi-floor mall in a classical sense, where you have foot traffic, you know, with the, you know, an area down here that'll have vending machines. This is more like the lower part where you have your, you know, cargo and stuff kind of moving through, you know what I mean? Like high traffic stuff kind of moving through, kind of like a little bit of separation. And the idea is to give it some design on the interior, but have it be a little bit like, you know, this will be looking up in the glass. But it does make sense from like a construction perspective too, like wellwood, spacer installations, use specific construction treat station, therefore like repeatable components. Yeah, that's the idea. So this will still look kind of cool, and they'll still have some unique aspects for a lot of this. But you know, we by doing it this way, we separate how the exterior appears, you know, from the interior. Right? You have an interior shape, which you can make it look whatever way you want. You know, separate it from the interior. You know, obviously I'm using the same shop over and over and over again, but it wouldn't be like that. You know, it would be, you know, food and stuff on top, different food places with, you know, bars and things, and it's more of a strip, you know. And I think this works way better, you know, because it hides on the exterior like this type of module and enables us to kind of bolt and connect it all together. Right, and if I have to, you see here with this little like connection, with those giant hangers, if those giant hangers need to connect to the, you know, like into the mall, right? If they have a left side and a right side, you know, because there's like massive hangers here, then, you know, there's room, right? There's room for a left and right, you know, oriented station to be able to kind of have that traversal. And then we would go from the mall area into habitation, and we would make habitation be a completely separate thing, right? The habitation would be on an arm, almost like I think I'm gonna like the original concept, you know. And I think ultimately this is just gonna make it so much easier to randomize, and you know, make things really simple. You know, easy to kind of traverse. Hey, Corvus. Welcome. And then ultimately, that just means, because we should be able to randomize these things, right? Like, and you know, from the player's perspective, all they'll see is very much like a roof and a floor. You know, the outside becomes, you know, the actual places of interest. And it works. We can have like a center, like, you know, a bunch of cool things. But I'm not quite sure on how wide I want to have them, and if I want to, you know, like how many floors. There could be like different versions, you know. So that's, you know, V2 of, you know, what'll be the, you know, the mall area. But that's what I want. I want to start separating them. Assets observed, some sort of space dock. It's like an 80s mall. Yeah. Let me show you the original one for reference. Well, the original prototype. So, coffee for your time zone? It's a bit late for coffee. So this is the standard transport chip. Decaf is anytime. Alright, so this is our little space truck. We have all of our components. We have like shield generators, you know, our warp drive. You know, the idea is you're just space trucking. You know, going from like A to B, buying stuff, selling it, pirating. And so the issue is I don't like the test station. Like the original concept, right? So like, you know, we have this multi-layer, you know, like area. We do these little cargo missions, right? Like you can pick up. Every one of these places has a little drop-off and pickup box. Right, like for all the different commodities and things like that, you know, that we can do. We have like security. These are all cookie cutter, right? Like just little station modules. So we have our like a bar, good old Irish John, so you can go get a beer. Okay, so this is kind of, and then so down below, I need to like close it and my Facebook Messenger is so, turn off. Okay, so down below, players can have their own little habitation module. It kind of spawns in. It's like your own little apartment that you can customize. Why is it still happening? Why is Edge still running in the background? I don't see Edge anymore. Maybe I have like an Edge process for that. There is. There we go. How long have you been modeling? A couple of years now. Mostly just for this project. Like it's just been Unforgiven space. You know, just I do it because I have to. You know what I mean? Like I just don't have anyone else to bang it out. So, you know, we won't consider it, you know, in a professional space, but I am determined to get this game launched and, you know, playable. Yeah, this is what the habitation modules look like, right? So there are these little spots, all these little nodes you can like socket things into, so you can like fully decorate your own place. I would say good luck for this space, yeah. Well, it's just, you know, it's just getting it playable enough that players are having fun. I think that's the thing, right? If players are enjoying it, even in the current state of things, then you're off to the right direction, you know? That's the gist. So these are the modules that spawn in. Anyway, my hands are tied. Gotta go. Yep, and this is like what, you know, this is how the game was supposed to look like. It'd be so sick to see the whole station like booted up, man. I know, just a version of the station, but it just time. But I like the idea of turning this into a standard, more of a standard strip mall, and kind of keeping it simple. Because I think it has to be like kept simple. Yeah, I'm kind of digging it. The question is if I want to offset it a little bit and bring some of the bottom ones like in a little bit more, right? So that there can be like this can be a little bit shorter. Like I want to be able to look up and see what the top shops are, you know, like the ads of them. So I don't know if more spacing kind of needs to be applied, or if really just if the top set just needs to move back a little bit, like by like, you know, 4, ignoring the space here in the middle, right? Like if these ones need to move back, and then the top of this can be like that, you know what I mean? Like that can kind of. You know what I mean? So from like from here, you know, you can kind of see it's like a hard call. Or if I just want to I don't know why it's just still running in the background. I need to block windows or something showing edge updates. But, you know, the consensus is I think you guys like it a bit more, so. And it's a question of what to put in the middle. Does the exterior have the full body? Are you building a ship with interiors you can talk around in for your game? Yep. Um, so it's gonna be like a Sea of Thieves in space. Hopefully that answers your question. I'll just, just by demonstrating it. Yep, that's pretty much it. Just wanted to make my own little version. More like a Star Citizen Light. Think like original Freelancer, you know what I mean? Like the 2013 or the 2012 pitch of Star Citizen. That's what I'm building as a multiplayer game. Just our own little, a lot of stuff is working. It's just there's little things that I need to polish. And a lot of netcode, a lot of multiplayer stuff. But I'm redoing the ship interiors. I want to get a lot of this stuff into Blender so I can actually prototype a bit faster. A lot of these things were made like individually and were like assembled in the in Unity. And then I switched over from Unity like a year ago, and kind of like imported a lot of this. But I really need to redo the Blender pipeline a lot. Yeah, they're like a Winnebago. Like I think it's like a little touch of the Freelancer ship in here, with a little bit of. I mean, it's all customizable. See, there's a rock crusher mining ship over here. This is more almost like a boat. These are all gray box prototypes. I love mining ships. Hell yeah! These are all the medical modules and stuff. Medical stations and. It'll all come together, But when it does, it'll look cool. But you know. But that's the game. It's funded completely on Patreon, and I do test builds all the time. We've been a bit stretched lately. I just had to build a launcher this week. I'm trying to build like a Delta patcher, make it a little bit faster to iterate over a lot of this stuff. That's the spiel, right? We have, you know, I just keep releasing test builds for us all to play, and things kind of just keep coming along. Asteroid Tech, and it's just patreon.com/monolithic, and hopefully it'll, you know, it'll grow. Yeah, switching over from Unity was like a major setback, and even from like Patreon and stuff. How well does Godot handle the scale? I've recompiled Godot for 64-bit, so I have a custom 64-bit version of Godot. I can run a physics simulation, you know, 3 million units X. It's perfectly fine. There's no floating point errors. I did, like, because that was in Unity. I had a ton of issues. Like, I had a custom fishnet solution for multiplayer. Like, multiplayer it's a lot more hard, like a lot more complicated when you have to deal with relative positioning. But I don't have that issue. You know what I mean, in Godot, because it's, you know, 64-bit version. So we can go wherever we want. You know what I mean? Like, I can we can go into multiplayer now and just jump down on a planet. You know what I mean, and run around a planet. It's perfectly fine. So, you know, just yeah, I don't know why these things are here. Like a lot of this stuff, like why, I don't know why I actually have bottoms in a lot of this. But that's what I'm doing today. Today is just cleanup. Today, you know, I had a couple of days off, and I was like, you know what, this would be a good time to, you know, just clean up assets and. I could not do that? Do what? Taking time cleaning up Mish for a game. Sometimes you kind of have to, you know what I mean? Like, just a part of the process. You know, right? Things change as you start working on stuff, and some ideas become kind of dumb. You're like, why am I doing this? You know, this doesn't need to be a thing anymore. Right? Because there's a cost to not doing it. like for like the design of my ships as an example, and it's an example I'd love to showcase in Blender. I try to do more like high detail model, but not for games. So cleaning up, that's how we can, what to do. Oh, gotcha. You're just making stuff. You're not making stuff for video games. See, that's the trick to a lot of this, you know, is like keep scale into consideration. Like my whole ship is 2 by 2 meters, right? 2 by 2 meters exactly, followed by a 3 by 3 meter, you know, grid. Then all these components back here, you know, they're all within those same metrics. There's just 1 by 1 panels. All the panels are modular. So this, you know, all I had to do when I want to create another version of the ship is just change the outside shell. Right, I can make many different variations of that, and as long as all the you know, the components fit. Right, making different versions is like making a new version of a car. You know what I mean? It's all same frames, all same systems. Yeah, they can choose modules in game, but you kind of have to. That's kind of a gameplay loop. So if we go into, did I close it? So let me kind of show you how this goes down. So we bring up our transport chip, and we turn off the exterior. So let's turn off gizmos, and let's turn off our exterior. Right, so this is the exterior model. So everything in the ship, you know, is pretty much, you know, to the two dimensions. And what I want to do is, if you kind of look at the interior, so this is the, you know, where the cockpit is, then you have all your modules. What'll happen is when the player first gets the ship, you know, the doorway will be here, so there'll be like an airlock. You're kind of coming in through the airlock, and instead of like a bathroom, there's just going to be a suit locker. This is actually like not, it's way too far for some reason. Yeah. So you'll pretty much just get like, you know, an electrical bay, 2 component bays. Like, this doesn't change much. You know, you have your airlock, which is like a double airlock. The outside of the airlock is based upon the structure of the ship, and the inside is always the same. So as you, the player, start playing the game, you can swap these out and kind of push this back. but you're sacrificing cargo space, right? So you only have like so many of these kind of cargo goods. But what you gain, you know, is a bit more utility. So the whole point of a bed module is so that you can just log out wherever you want, just like having a sleeper in your cab. Right, so you have a bed module, you can just go log out, and you're good. The other modules, some of them are cosmetic, like the toilet here is actually just so you can access the character creator / like mirror. So there's just a mirror, you go, you know, you look into it, interact with it, and you can kind of, you know, swap out clothes and things like that on your character. You know, without having to go to a station. It's just little things that you can do if you go to a station. I guess soft, yeah, SC Clone. It's taking a lot of the stuff from a Star Wars mod that I used to play, and you know, like old school Freelancer. You know, it's meant to be more gritty, more Cowboy Bebop in space. Is what I'm hopefully, you know, going for in atmosphere. Right. Think of Firefly. If Firefly and you know, and the Cowboy Bebop had a baby, you know, that universe would be this universe, right? But I want, you know, players to be able to swap out all the components and, you know, and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of that works. Like missions work, empties work. There's a lot of stuff like that is working in the current version of the game. It's just not working well enough to be more of a, like, it's not a complete vertical slice. And it's you know, close but not quite. Right, I'm fixing to import 70k objects in the Unreal Engine overnight. It was neat. Check it in. Have a good one, Arctic. Definitely check out the, you know, join us on Discord if you want. It's Unforgiven. The website just redirects to the Discord right now. For any of those that just want to join and check it out. So this is like what I'm doing now. I'm unifying all of the materials. I'm linking them, like, you know, to one material for all the stuff that's not being textured right now, or at least isn't going to be until we kind of get to a Substance Painter pass. And like just really just going through and just setting things up in Blender, you know, as they are in Godot. You know, instead of making this stuff individually like I've done and then exporting it and building the ships up, I want to build a prototype a little bit more effectively, you know, within the asset library. And I'm going to reorganize and, you know, get the asset library actually working. One of these is the rack. I need to actually get... Yeah, it should be. There's actually should be a version of this with the rack. I don't know why the rack is on its own. I like how there's just nothing behind it. Like that's a full width one. Well, we're not moving that in. Wait a second. Yeah, so that's the design one. It's baked everything. Gotta skip. I don't. This is one part of the track that I just don't like. I know it just gets kind of heavy. Maybe I hate the guitar from it. should be a cover. Yeah, it's still not updating. What the hell? Yeah, this should be gone. There's something here that's not like that has a material on it. It's being weird. Maybe we'll just clear it. Yeah, it's still bringing in those bulls. I don't understand why. Everything else is fine. Alright, I'm gonna use the washroom. Actually, I'm gonna go raid someone, I think it's 11. I'm gonna keep working on this tomorrow. But that's my goal, is to kind of like rebuild the ships with all the individual pieces that I brought into Godot already. And make sure the asset library is actually like up to date. Because we should be able to use Blender as more of a playground for more realistic lighting. Or to get a feeling of how we want to actually light things. I think ultimately it's going to help you know, be able to kind of create variations of things more effectively. Alright, so I'm gonna end it here on YouTube. I'm gonna find someone to raid. Thanks, Sedlix, if you're still here for the raid. You're awesome. I don't know why the colors aren't updating. The materials are. Yeah, because there's like this bulkhead stuff. Like, I don't even think you can see any of this stuff inside the ship. Like, it was just like. It was a prototype to show how the structure of the ship is actually sound. But if you can't really see it, it doesn't really matter. You know?